Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Top of the Standings, where today we're talking about the latest sports news on a Sunday. Since school around the U.S. is starting back up in the next couple of weeks, we have decided that it would be best to get the latest episodes of Top of the Standings out to you on the weekend so that we have enough time to balance this podcast along with our schoolwork. But enough of this back to school talk. Let's get to what Jotham and I do best talk sports. But before we start, here's an important message from our amazing sponsor, Anchor. A lot has happened since we last spoke, Jotham. I don't, and this has been obviously, I think maybe the craziest episode, craziest things that have happened in between episodes. Like
A
what
lot
happened?
a lot is an understatement. I mean, there's been so much going on. I initially I didn't even know where to start, but I feel like I just had to get into this NBA playoffs, my guy.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I don't blame you.
I mean, a lot has happened, not even just on the court, but off the court as well. But we'll start on the court, bro. So there's only one undefeated team in this bubble, and that was the Phoenix Suns, who went 8-0 and still got their bubble bursted.
Yeah, the sun was not shining when Karis LeVert missed that potentially game-winning shot against the Portland Trail Blazers, which then, after he missed, eliminated the Suns out of the playoff. And it's sad because, like you said, they went 9-0. They were playing great. Devin Booker was on his A game, and they still somehow missed the playoffs. That doesn't seem right to me.
It's just like, I mean, this season low key has been an odyssey for the Suns because they started off like in November they were like second in the West.
Yeah,
It was like early in the season. They were doing well, and then they went back to normal ish in the winter, and then the season shut down. Then we get to the bubble. Now they're all of a sudden clicking on all cylinders. Now don't get me wrong, Devin Booker has always been great, but now we see that it started translating into wins and a
yeah.
good winning streak too.
Yeah, it did, and I was really impressed because again, we're talking about Devin Booker, but Devin Booker can't win 9 games by himself. So again, the entire Suns roster was just. It seemed like they connected during this time in the bubble, and they just decided to start winning. It's funny how that worked.
And hey, I mean Monty that earned their coach Monty Williams the coach of the bubble honor.
I like how they did the awards because it was. I think I think it was almost like fitting. It seems like a whole new season. They decided to give bubble awards to the MVP and players like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did too. I thought I mean if they said that they're going to base the big awards like MVP and coach of the year off of what happened before the bubble. Um, so I thought it was really cool that they did the bubble awards for the 8 games that the teams played. That was a really good idea, man. That was a really good idea. I respect the NBA for that.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree, and I'm not mad at Dame winning MVP. I feel like that that is definitely right. That was the right choice. He has been going berserk this restart. He is almost unstoppable.
dude, my man's pulled up like the moon, and just he not only did he shine when it counted most, but he also set the sun.
Good one.
Yeah, dude. That's the best way I can put it, man. I mean the Suns. I mean, you can't really avoid clouds when Damian Lillard puts them in your face. I mean, it's just like that the dude was going off. Between him and Booker, those were the two players that those were two of the most efficient, high scoring players in the
I
bubble. And
agree.
it was so crazy to watch them just both put their respective teams on their backs and just do their thing. The Suns going undefeated. There was not a single game where the Blazers played that was decided by more than 10 points.
Yeah, and I'm really disappointed because I think a Suns and Blazers play-in game would have been more enjoyable than the Grizzlies and Blazers playing game that we saw last night. Due to the fact that the Grizzlies they're kind of beat up. Jaren Jackson Jr. hurt, I just thought that the Suns would have a better chance to maybe compete with Portland.
Yeah, I felt like it would have been. Now, don't get me wrong. The Grizzlies Blazers game was surprisingly, a really really good game. It was really closer than we all expected. But I mean, we didn't really expect Memphis to get two in a row on Portland,
Yeah.
just because. I mean, Dane was not gonna go out like that,
No.
man. He was
No,
not gonna
you
go out
you're
like
right. You're right. I honestly, I think if the Suns did play the Blazers in the play-in game, I don't think the Suns would have gotten past the Blazers due to the fact that the Blazers again, they have been unstoppable. I haven't seen any team really give them like, or not them, but Dame. No one has been able to efficiently shut down Dame, and I think that is going to be the key in their upcoming postseason match against the Lakers.
Yeah, and I said it once and I'll say it again. The Blazers are not your typical 8 seed. That it's a loaded and I mean this is what we got to expect from the Western Conference nowadays. You got to the conference is so deep that even the 8th seeded team is loaded.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, look who's on the team. They have Melo, who it's kind of funny that Melo and LeBron have been going at it their entire career, and now they have another series back and forth. I think that will be very entertaining.
I've been waiting for this moment, man. Dame and Melo versus LeBron and AD. Oh my gosh.
I
Oh,
like the sound of that. I
oh
really
man.
do.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. There are some sexy matchups in these playoffs, man. I mean, I
I
just stated
agree.
one: Luca and Kristaps Porzingis versus Kawhi and PG. Oh my god,
That's gonna be fun.
yes, dude. And, oh, how about Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic versus Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert?
Dude, I'm looking forward to the playoffs, man.
Yeah, and we don't even need to discuss CP3 and the Thunder versus Russ Harden and the Rockets. That speaks for itself, even before the whole Russ and Harden drama.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the Western Conference is going to be good, so good to watch for the next decade. I am saying it right here, right now.
Hey, I do not blame you. I feel like there's so many potential, you know, teams that could just keep on making the playoffs, have longevity to their name. Like Dallas, I could see them being a title contender for the next 10 years. I just like the Luca and the Kristaps duo. I feel like that could be very lethal against, let's say, a Lakers or a Clippers, and the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And speaking of those, shots. I was gonna ask if you wanted to do a bracket, man, but I mean, I feel like my brain is going to be running in so many circles. It's gonna be so tough. I'm gonna have so much fun with this, man.
Dude, let's do it. I'm
Okay, let's
ready.
do it.
Okay. First matchup: Lakers Portland. Who do you got?
Oh my gosh, dude. Even the 1-8 matchup. I've
Yeah.
never seen such a tough 1-8 matchup in my life, man. I mean, this is crazy, but I think the Blazers are going to put up a fight because like I said, they are not a typical AC, but I just think they're going to fall short to the Lakers in 6 games. I just feel like
Ooh.
LeBron and AD and the bench, Avery Bradley and even Caruso surprise.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Lakers are just going to be a bit too deep for the Blazers, even though the Blazers have some really good players and Damian Lillard.
Hey, you mentioned the Lakers bench. It's kind of funny that they have one of the best rebounders of all time on their bench in Dwight Howard. So again, I feel like their bench is going to maybe outlive the Blazers. I feel like you said I do think that the Blazers are going to put up a big fight, but not big enough to avoid the sweep. I got Lakers in 4.
Ooh, oh boy, that's pretty defiant. Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Thunder Rockets. Are you going to be as defiant on that for a
Dude,
sweep?
I think I'm not. I think it's actually going to be pretty close due to the fact that Oklahoma City Thunder, they have been really good this year. Very surprising. They've played well, but again, I don't think they're going to play well enough to beat the Rockets because even though the Rockets don't technically have a center. They have PJ Tucker playing the five. I feel like they're a fast team. I feel like they're gonna get get big leads quickly. I think they're gonna beat the Thunder in six.
Interesting. I don't blame you. I mean, the Rockets small ball is like a double-edged sword. Teams
Yeah.
that go big, I mean, the Rockets have two really good ways they can score: the three-pointer, or they can beat your big men to the hole and lay it in. Those are the
Yep.
two biggest ways they score. But I just feel like the Thunder, surprisingly, have been so balanced. Their offense is so balanced, and Steven Adams is a very good player, especially on the defensive end, in my opinion. And I think the Thunder are going to take this in seven. I see Russell Westbrook might not be able to play early on in this series
Yeah.
because of that
That's true.
injury
Yeah.
in game one. So I feel like that might give the Rockets some problems. Um, I just I feel like the Rockets might fizzle out, and it's going to be so. I feel like it's going to be so tough to watch them lose games. I feel like they're going to have one of those games where they miss 23 pointers or something like that.
Yeah. I don't blame you with the pick because we've seen in the past few years the Rockets really haven't been able to win those massive games that they probably should. So I could easily see the Thunder making a almost an upset, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you just got it. This series has to go at least 6, 7.
Yeah, I agree.
Has to go at least 6. This is too fun of a matchup to just be a 4-game, 5-game series.
Yeah. All right, let's continue going down the bracket. Next, we have Denver and Utah. What do you think?
I think the Nuggets. I've had an entire perception change on this team before the bubble compared to after the bubble. Dude, Ball and Michael Porter Jr. have showed out, and they just made a deep Nuggets team even that much deeper. And I think that makes them a championship contender. And I just flat out don't see the same thing in the Jazz. I love Donovan Mitchell. He's the face of the Utah franchise. Rudy Gobert, probably the most impactful, player on the team, especially with
Mhm.
his defensive performances. But I just feel like the Jazz are really inconsistent with their play.
I
So
agree.
yeah, I mean, I have to go Nuggets in five.
I like the pick. Personally, me, I love the Nuggets big lineup. I just love Jokic playing at guard and Bobo playing at forward. I think that is going to almost confuse the Jazz because how do you play defense against Jokic and Bobo in the same starting lineup? You don't. And I feel I just as similar to what you said, I do feel that the Jazz are very inconsistent. I feel at sometimes almost overrated, especially earlier in the season.
Yeah,
I just feel like they should have played better than they actually were. They got Mike Conley. They traded all those assets for Mike Conley just to get them to the sixth seed. So I don't see them putting I do see the series being pretty exciting, but I do have Denver in six.
I agree. I like the pick. Nuggets. I feel like they just have too deep of a team for the Jazz. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Next, we have the Clippers and the Mavericks.
Oh boy. Um, I think this series is going to be on the shoulders of Luka Doncic.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
agree.
first thing I'm going to say. This series is going to ride on Luka. If he balls out, the Mavericks are going to win. If he doesn't put up more than 20, 25 points per game, I don't think the Mavericks stand a chance. And the Clippers, we all know them for being probably arguably the deepest team in the NBA. Kawhi,
Hmm.
PG, Zubac, Beverly, all those boys, Harrell, Lou Will. The team is so deep. I don't know how the Mavericks can stop them. Um, Particularly on the defensive end. We know that the Mavericks can score. They are probably the most efficient offense in the league. But I'm skeptical about that Mavericks defense, how they can hold up,
Yeah.
because PG can go off at any moment.
Yeah, he sure can. And like I personally do think that the Clippers have the deepest bench in the league, and I don't think anyone comes close.
Mm, wow. Okay. I like it. I mean, I can't disagree with that. Like I said, Clippers, that roster is nasty. We knew it as soon as Kawhi and PG joined the team,
Yeah.
that team was going to be nasty. But um, I think Luca will give the Clippers some problems, but I still think the Clippers are going to win the series in six. I just think that team is too deep for the Mavericks.
Okay, my thoughts are very similar. I think Luca will have a big series, but not big enough to beat the stacked LA Clippers bench lineup. Anything that the Clippers have, I just feel like the Clippers are going to win in five.
I mean, reasonable pick, man. I mean, these matchups are going to be great, but I just feel like you know the underdogs. Not that the Mavericks and the Jazz are like insanely huge underdogs. I can definitely see them pulling off the upsets, but
Yeah,
I just feel like their opponents are just too deep for them,
I
and
agree.
thus that just makes them. I think they're going to lose the series because of that.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and I think everything you said was on top because I I feel like, as I said earlier, no one's bench comes close to the Clippers, and I feel in the NBA you need a good bench to succeed, and I don't see much of a challenge put up by, let's say, the Mavericks bench to the Clippers. I just see a big difference there, and I feel like that will be the key to maybe a Clippers potential finals run.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, bench depth is a really important thing in the NBA, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Clippers make a big run. But we shifting to the East Coast now.
Yeah, we are. I think, unfortunately, we're gonna have to start with probably the most predictable and easy series to pick. I'm sorry, me being an Orlando native, I'm hurt by this, but I don't see Orlando putting up the slightest of fight against the Milwaukee Bucks. I got Milwaukee in four.
I don't blame you at all. Even as a Magic fan myself, I don't blame you for predicting the inevitable sweep. I definitely think the Bucks are going to win this series. If they don't, that's going to be the most embarrassing thing I have seen in the NBA since the 3-1 choke by the Warriors.
Yeah, I would. I agree 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like the Magic will get one game just because the Bucks might take their foot off the gas for one game. But I,
I could
I
see
don't
that.
I don't see them. I just man, like realistically, it's going to be a sweep. But I'm going to sit here and say that Markel Fultz will have one game where he goes for 30 and
Wow.
he and that would be the game, the only game that the Magic win. Other than that, I'm seeing 30-point blowouts on the forecast.
I like the confidence. I really do, and I do respect it. But you know, I witnessed the Bucks slaughter against the Pistons live right in front of my eyes, and they even I think they have a better roster this year with Wesley Matthews coming over from Indiana and even Robin Lopez from the Bulls now both on the Bucks. I just feel like I don't see many teams giving the Bucks a really fair fight
Yeah, not to
because
mention our star player Jonathan Isaac tore his
yeah,
ACL.
yeah, and
Uh,
he was the best defensive player. So
oh, we could have used him to guard Giannis. Oh, I don't know who's gonna get. Like this is the same situation with Jokic and Ball. Who is go if you put Vucevic on Giannis, then Brook
yeah,
Lopez is gonna go crazy. If you do it the other way around, Giannis is gonna go crazy. Oh yeah, I just don't see the Magic. There's no way. I just feel like there's no way. I'll be ecstatic if I am wrong. I'll be so ecstatic.
I do too. I would be too. But as you just mentioned, I don't feel like anyone in the East really matches Milwaukee's length, other than maybe let's say Philly if Ben Simmons was not hurt. But like we saw last year, we saw Thon Maker of all people trying to guard Giannis in the playoffs, and we saw how poorly he I think he almost got dunked on every single time Giannis drove to the basket. So, and if we saw like sometimes Blake Griffin would decide to guard Giannis, but he'd be too slow. No, there's no stopping Giannis. And like you said, I think Jonathan Isaac may have been the only person on the Magic to even give Giannis a difficult time near the basket.
Yeah, but now that we're thin and we are frosty cold, we don't stand a chance. Okay, I'm done with this. Let's go to Heat. Let's go to Heat Pacers. I'm done talking about the Magic obliteration.
I'm interested in seeing where this goes. We got CJ Warren against Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, and that's what we all were looking forward to.
hmm
I think it's going to be a very, very exciting series, but we need to take an account of what happened to Derrick Jones Jr.
hmm
this weekend. I'm saying if he comes back, I feel like Miami has a really good chance to beat the Pacers. But again, if he doesn't come back and he's not healthy, I and if TJ Warren continues to go on his hot streak, he's been on fire during this restart in the bubble. I feel like Indiana will move on and beat Miami in 6.
Interesting. I would like to see the Pacers pull this off, but I feel like even without Derrick Jones Jr., the Miami Heat are still the better team in my eyes. With Bam Adebayo, the one of the candidates for NBA's most improved player. Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
Butler, he's really fit into the team leader role. Tyler Hero's been well, a hero at times.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've been the Heat have been a really good balanced team. They haven't, been they haven't been bad at all. Um I do question if they can be consistent. Um and I hope the rest comes in handy because I mean Derrick Jones Jr. is going to need it. I mean both of these teams are going to be fresh. They just played each other Friday, but all the stars sat out.
Yeah.
Um so I mean both teams I feel like their benches have a little more experience after their encounter on Friday, but I feel like the Miami Heat are still going to be too much for the Pacers. I feel like Jimmy Butler is gonna outplay T.J. Warren in that little player rivalry right there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun to watch. I mean, T.J. Warren is the underdog, and Jimmy Butler is kind of like the big bully, the big nice bully in
Yeah.
school that always wins. So it's gonna be really interesting to see if T.J. Warren can, you know, stand up and continue to just absolutely tear up the Nets and stuff like that. But I still have the Heat in 6. I just think the Heat are going to be too much for the Pacers.
Hey, I don't blame the pick, especially since you mentioned all the surprise players that the breakout stars that the Heat have on their team. One name that you did forget to mention that I feel like is really going to be key in the series is Kendrick Nunn. He has been probably one of the most surprised young superstars that we've seen in the past few years because who thought Kendrick Nunn would be this explosive and exciting to watch? I know I did not.
I don't blame you, man. I mean, he's poured in a good 15.3 points per game and stuff like that. Almost 30 minutes a game. So he's been a key piece for this Heat team. And, it's very good to see him, you know, show out and, play at a high level. But I've been seeing his games lately and I mean, it hasn't exactly been the same, but I feel like he will get out of that slump if his team just gives him the chance.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let's move on to Boston and Philly. Another probably heated series.
Oh yeah, especially after their encounter, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. because that I think that was the time when the Celtics went to the conference finals. Yeah. Man, this is actually an easy pick for me. I'm going Celtics in five. Um, I I just feel like the Celtics are the more healthy team.
Yeah,
Um, they have Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, Tice, and
yeah,
Wanamaker, and all. Their bench is reasonably somewhat deep, and I feel like they're just the overall better team compared to a beaten up Sixers team that has no Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid's a bit beaten up. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, Celtics in five.
You basically took the words out of my mouth. I also have Celtics in five, and all the reasons that you've just stated are mine too. I don't see Philly really putting up a big fight due to the fact that Ben Simmons isn't there, and their team revolves around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. So without that, I mean, yeah, sure they have Tobias Harris, who is again really a good player, but like I said, their team revolves around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and without Ben Simmons, I don't see there being almost like any really good chemistry because Ben Simmons realistically has been their only player, basically next to Joel Embiid. He's been basically the connector piece to the entire team, and without him, I don't see them putting up a big fight against Boston. Again, I said I have Boston in five.
Very good pick. I mean, this doesn't look to be too exciting of a series in terms of series length, but the animosity is real between these two teams. I will be excited to see the heat, the action, and the rivalry. I will be interested because it's Boston Philly. What more
Yeah,
should we have to say?
yeah. Two of the most loudest and disrespectful crowds in the league, and not to mention you have Joel Embiid, who seems to be heated up in every single playoff series that he has played in his career.
Hmm.
So I feel like that it will be very heated.
Yeah, dude. Uh, our last series, Raptors Nets, doesn't seem to be as heated, but it's still a somewhat interesting series to pick.
Yeah, it is, and we saw Karis LeVert go absolutely crazy against the Blazers. Obviously, it ended up in a loss, but nonetheless, he has looked very good. And I think that if he plays well, I feel like he's the only chance for the Nets to take the Raptors down. But other than that, I don't see much of a fight put up by the Nets. I got Toronto in five.
I agree in terms of the winner and the series length. I got Raptors in 5-2. Siakam is coming to his own. The bench
Yep.
has gotten even deeper without Leonard. So more players have started to shine, including the addition of OG Anunoby. He wasn't there. I don't believe he was there for the last playoff run because he was injured.
Yeah, he
But
had that appendix injury, so he was out basically the entire playoffs except for the finals, I believe.
yeah, and now that he's here, Kyle Lowry's here, Fred Van Vliet is here, Pascal Siakam is here, Serge Ibaka is here. It there's that Raptors team is deeper than you think, and in my opinion, I think they got better without Kawhi Leonard this year. I
Hey,
really
I
do.
don't blame you at all. I feel like they again, like you said, have gotten a lot better, and I feel like even their star players like Fred Van Vliet and Pascal Siakam have also improved since Kawhi has left.
Yeah, I mean Kawhi. I think he left his claws in Toronto. I think he left an impact on that team when he left because I feel like last year. I mean, there's no denying that he was doing a lot for the team, carrying the team in the postseason. He did a lot for the Raptors last year in that championship run. So I think those players sitting back watching him, watching Kawhi do his thing, I think they learned a lot from that and how to be, I think they got a win like a winner mentality out of Kawhi Leonard. So I think that's really going to help them make a deep playoff run. I think they're, easily going to dispose of the Nets. I don't see the Nets without KD and Kyrie. Not that either one of them
Yeah,
were gonna. play in this playoffs. But I mean, I just feel like without those two, um, the team is still good. Don't get me wrong; they jumped the Magic one spot, but I don't think they're going to put too much of a fight up against the Raptors.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, but it should be a very intriguing, playoffs. Not just because of the matchups and the absolute, you know, the absolute airtight closeness in terms of who's a contender or who's not, but also the fact that we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs in the first quarter of school and not the fourth.
Yeah, and it definitely is something that everyone's gonna have to get used to. And I think it will be a very crazy and one of the most memorable playoffs that we've seen ever. And you know what else has been very memorable and
What?
crazy? The first week of technically the 2020 NHL playoffs. What happened? What has been going on?
Mayhem. That's the only word I can come up with. Absolute mayhem. Um, the games have been absolutely close. I mean, there were so many one goal games, and that it started the very first game. It
Yeah.
was what, five overtimes by the Blue Jackets and the Lightning. Five overtime. They almost played three whole hockey games. The game was so long they had to push back the next game into the early morning.
Yes, and they technically had their own seventh inning stretch. They played seven periods, basically. I think they played technically eight, but seven periods. That's crazy in a game. That I couldn't believe what I was witnessing in front of my eyes, and not to mention the stats. We have some packed stats going on. And first, I think we got to talk about the goaltenders because I've never seen anything like that.
I don't think I have either, even though I couldn't watch the game because the power was out. But I see the stats, and I just think to myself, what type of history did I miss out on?
Yeah, you definitely missed out on some great goaltending because we have the Blue Jackets goalie Corpusalo had on 88 shots, he saved 85 of them. 85 saves. That is again unheard of, and he obviously broke the record for most saves in an NHL game
Oh
with
my!
85s. I've never seen another goalie even get close to maybe let's say 60 or 70. That is crazy.
Wow, wow, dude. Any other crazy stats? Did any of the skaters break any records?
Yeah, yeah. Seth Jones, he broke the record for on ice time in one game with 63 minutes and 55 seconds.
Wait,
He
wait, wait, wait,
played,
wait, wait, wait. He was over. He was on the ice for over an hour.
yes, and that again is unheard of because he broke the record. I promise you I would not be able to skate over an hour in one game. I couldn't do it. I think my legs would just fall apart. I don't know how he did it.
Oh my gosh! I couldn't even roller skate for 30 minutes straight, and these guys out here skating for over an hour. Oh my gosh! Oh man!
Dude,
Wow.
that was one of the craziest playoff games I've ever seen. And unfortunately, even though the Blue Jackets recorded 85 saves, somehow they lost because the Lightning won in the fourth longest NHL playoff game ever, 3-2.
Yeah, I know it was a bit salty for you to watch because I know how much you dislike the Lightning. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It was almost a bittersweet moment because I did pick in our bracket last week the Lightning would move on. So I guess I wasn't too mad. I was not rooting for the Lightning, but even though they won, I was fine with it because I picked them. So win
yeah,
win
and
or win.
it was a good
Yeah,
historical game to watch too. So that kind of evens things out a little bit. But the rest of the series, you know, some have been a little crazy to say the least, and that's just an understatement. I mean, with the first two games of Flames and Stars, especially the second one, those were some crazy games. Crazy. I mean, the Flames. came that like it was the middle of like late in the third period. They were down 2 goals and they scored two quick ones on the Stars. And I'm thinking, oh crap, we gonna go to overtime again, another overtime game in the NHL. And the Stars said, nope, we gonna score with 30 seconds left. I'm like, what is this game? What is this league? What is this postseason?
I've never seen anything like this before, and I'm here for the excitement. I really am.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude, definitely. But I will say that I mean, for right now, I think Golden Knights Blackhawks is in the dust. I think that's pretty much settled. There, I don't.
I 100% agree. But one thing I do have a question about.
Yeah.
What is your friend saying now? Because you you mentioned last week that he said the Blackhawks would give the Golden Knights a a a tough playoff matchup. What is he saying now?
Dude, I'm gonna let him form his thoughts, and I'm gonna let him calibrate his excuses on why he made that insane pick. I will wait until the sweep is official. But dude, I mean, hey, the Blackhawks have made it close. One game
Yeah.
went into overtime, and actually, I think both of their games was overtime. Wait a minute,
Last night,
no,
the Golden Knights won 2-1 in
no, that wasn't an
regular
overtime game.
time. So it was again like you mentioned, it has been really close.
Hmm. So it wasn't like they've won the games. They've won 3 games
Yeah,
by 4 goals or more. But still, I mean, if you're up 3-0, you're up 3-0.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
I think we do have a sweep incoming, but
the only one.
yeah, the only one, and I think that's almost surprising because from what I've seen by the Coyotes, they aren't going down without a fight, and I
No,
like to see that.
no, they made that series against the Avalanche really interesting. If they can win Game 4, oh boy, watch out, watch out.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I was kind of disappointed in the Flyers
Oh
in
my
game 2.
gosh.
I never expected them to get blown out 5 to nothing after we saw what they did in the qualifying, or sorry, the round robin games. I especially against the Canadians.
Oh my
5-0.
dude, when I was watching the game and I could just see the frustration pouring out of the Flyers. I could just see it, dudes slamming their sticks on the walls in
Yep.
frustration. I could just see the looks on the players' faces. I'm just like, what is going on? And it was only game 2. The series is 1-1, but that felt like a huge that was like the biggest momentum swing in the series I have ever seen in my life. I've never seen such an early series swing so large. The Canadians of all teams, the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. I was very surprised because almost like as I said earlier, the Flyers were really good in the round robin, but also when I was watching, it was not exciting. They did not look motivated to win the game even in the slightest. They were just hoping the game could get over as fast as possible. So it was almost boring for me to watch because I think we knew the winner by the second period.
Yeah, and I mean think about it. Let's put it in this perspective, Drew. The Canadians in this series have 6 goals. The Flyers only have 2. Um,
Yeah.
that is a problem. That
Yeah.
is a problem.
That's
And
almost
tonight,
confusing.
yeah, and tonight the Flyers better get it together because if the Canadians take a series lead, that's going to be scary.
That is, and I don't know what I would do if I was a Flyers fan, especially maybe even you. You picked them to win the cup.
Oh my gosh! If the Canadians win this series, if
Yeah,
they find a way to win this series, I'm going to cry next week.
dude, I would not blame you. And you almost have two reasons to cry because the Bruins are up 2-1 on your Hurricanes and my Stanley Cup winner. So two two
Dude,
questionable picks so far.
speaking of Tuukka Rask is gone.
Good one, good one.
Yeah. But dude, I would have thought, now that Tuukka Rask is gone, top goaltender candidate, I would have thought that we would have put up more than just one goal. I mean, I understand the backup is not a slouch, but seriously, come on, man.
Yeah, I think you need to expect better from Peter Mrazek as well because he played phenomenal in the qualifying round,
Hmm.
and this so far in the series against the Bruins, he has not looked the greatest in my opinion.
No, he hasn't. Especially, and I think what set me off was that little baseball tap into the net. Uh,
Yeah, those hurt, man.
that hurt. Um, I mean, we had a chance late to tie the game and stuff, but just couldn't get it done. I I will be on my heels tomorrow night. Um, yeah, I don't think I can afford to go down 3-1.
I do not blame you, and obviously the Bruins have been extremely successful as an NHL team, and they don't tend to mess up easily. So if they do go up 3-1, it will be a tough road for the Hurricanes. But what you I did not believe in the hype when you said the Canucks were going to beat the reigning Stanley Cup champions, and I didn't agree at all. But now I see why you made the pick because the Canucks they played extremely well, and to my surprise,
I got one thing to say. Canuck, 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 Canuck. I'm telling you, I told you, the Canucks. I felt like they were really looking good to me, and I had a feeling that they were going to give the Blues a fight. First game, I mean, they showed why. But I'm thinking, okay, second game. I think if they win this second game, that really kind of proves my point. But I was scared in the third period because the Blues tied the game with literally 6 seconds left, and I was like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me!"
yeah,
But the Canucks rallied and won in overtime.
yeah, and I personally I'm disappointed in Jordan Binghamton because we saw how fantastic he was in the Blues Stanley Cup run, and in these playoffs, he's 0-4. So, you know,
9 goals
I
in 2 games to the Canucks.
I don't know what is going on with the Blues. I don't know.
I, I mean, maybe it's the championship hangover. I,
Yeah,
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
but how do you have a hangover when you know you were a bad team in the first half of the season?
Yeah, it's almost very disappointing. I'd be disappointed if I were a Blues fan. Dude, like these are the reigning Stanley Cup champions, and they have not looked like it whatsoever.
No, they have not. And if the Canucks sweep this series, that's going to be a major disappointment. Wow, I'm going to be very, very disappointed, even though my pick would have been right.
Yeah. Speaking about another pick being right in
Oh
my favor this time, we have Islanders and Capitals. I was really hesitant to pick the Islanders. I like I said last week, I said it was a gut feeling, and apparently my gut feeling is really really good because the Islanders up 2-0 on the Caps going into game 3.
you know, I think my gut is hungry for a turnaround. Um, I think I'm gonna need. I think I'm also gonna need a side of Caps victories too. Um, and maybe an appetizer of Alex Ovechkin and that offense getting going. No, I'm going to say Braden Holtby getting
Yeah.
the saves for a dessert because I mean the Islanders have literally been eating up the goals in these first 2 games. 5-2 Friday,
Yeah.
and then I mean 4-2 in game one. The
Yeah, and
Islanders have been putting up goals.
they
Um,
they have. They have. And you just mentioned game 1 and I was shocked because it was 2-1 heading into the third period and I turned it off. I was like, "Okay, it's 2-1. I don't see Washington blowing this at all." And then I was watching another game and then they showed the Caps and Islanders highlights and I was like, "Okay. I'm sure Washington won." And then I see the final 4-2. What happened in that third period, Jotham?
the Caps dialed up their numbers from the mid 2010s and choked.
Yeah, they sure did. Three goals to zero in the third period in the Islanders' favor. It's not how you're going to be able to win a series. That it's not gonna settle well for Capitals fans around the league.
No, it's really um making me look stupid. Uh,
Yeah,
this is not good. This is not good.
hey,
But
I don't blame you. 2-0. Ugh.
yeah, that yeah they yeah the Washington cannot afford to go down 3-0. Yeah, they got to win game 3. They have to. They just have to.
Hey, they definitely do.
Speaking of winning, the Rangers are actually in a peculiar situation because even though Lafreniere is the undoubtable number one pick, I've seen trade rumors for that
I
number
have
one
too.
pick.
I have too, and it's almost interesting because the Rangers really they have a good young core, especially led by Panarin. But I if it were me, I'm not trading the first pick, and that's all I gotta say.
Wow. I mean, this is an interesting. I would have thought for sure the Rangers would have been like Lafreniere, come to New York, and I'm just sitting here looking at the potential trades. I'm like, whoa. So the whoever the Rangers trade that number one pick to, they better give them the package of the century.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if the Red Wings gave up maybe their fourth pick and maybe a future. But like you said, there definitely is going to be a package traded for this, without a doubt. First pick in Lafreniere.
Yeah, and that's if they traded. I
Yeah,
mean, sure, Lafreniere is what left winger, and
yeah,
the Rangers they have two decent left wingers in Panarin, and I forgot the other left winger, but they the Rangers have their left wingers down pat. They really needed to focus on their center position, and Lafreniere, well, he's a winger, not a center.
yeah. Uh,
Um,
it should be interesting to see what they do. Um, I don't know what is going to happen, and it should be really exciting to see what happens in the future.
yeah, really. Speaking of the future, oh boy, well, we're not going to see football from the Big Ten and the Pac-12 till next year, huh?
Yeah, and last week we were talking about how they may decide to opt out, and less than like 2 hours after we recorded that episode, they were like, "Yeah, Andrew and Jotham, they heard what we were saying, and yeah, we're done."
And apparently the Pac-12 joined them too.
Yeah, they sure did. The most interesting thing though is that SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are still going ahead with their plans to play in the fall. I think that's
Hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah, very. It shows a lack of unity in the NCAA. I mean, what else
Yeah,
was I going to expect? I didn't expect the Power Five to make a unified decision. Some conferences are going to play, some conferences aren't. But I think the Pac-12 has a good reason to do this because their conferences are in states that are hotspots, like
yeah,
California. Um, and Stanford just cut 11 sports. They had to cut 11 sports. A school with as much prestige and as much academic prestige and as much money as Stanford had to cut 11 sports. That is a bad message for other schools because Stanford, I mean, it's Stanford. I mean,
yeah.
they make a name for themselves for a good reason.
It should definitely show you that it is not going to be promising to see sports in the meantime for any Pac-12 conference, any team out there. I don't like I if you see Stanford of all schools cutting 11 sports, you shouldn't expect sports in general in the Pac-12.
Oh no, I mean, it's bad. It's scary for the Pac-12, man, and it might even stretch to basketball too. So that's you know it's it's scary, man. I mean, this virus is no joke in the sports world. They're really gonna have to manage this and do what they can to really return safely in their
Yeah,
standards.
definitely. And yeah, I don't know what college football fans should expect. Maybe, Alabama go going off again this year since they don't have as much you know I'd say competition due to the fact that two of the biggest conferences are not going to be playing this year. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Alabama go back on the reign. Hopefully not.
Yeah,
But
we'll have to see.
that's what I have to say for college football.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, like we said earlier, there's still three conferences going. SMU and TCU are gonna, for the 100th time, they're gonna fight for that skillet. Um, on September 12th. So I mean, hey, we have a game on the schedule at least.
Yes, college football is back.
Yeah, with big quotation marks around it.
Yeah, uh, yeah,
Hey,
it's not looking promising.
yeah, it's really not. But I mean, from a fan's perspective, you're ecstatic. But from a
Yeah.
moral perspective, it's just like, eh, eh, eh. I don't know about this, Chief.
Yeah, and at any time, as we've seen almost with the MLB, there have been some cases that just abruptly come up, like the Reds. What's happening in Cincinnati?
Oh, brother. I guess the NL Central is not having too much luck this year. Well, at least the Cardinals came back and won a game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was surprised. I was
yeah.
surprised. I walked downstairs and I saw that the Cardinals were playing the White Sox. I was like, wow, that I was not expecting that. And I'm honestly I'm glad that the Cardinals are back because the last thing we wanted to see in the MLB season was a team not play for almost a month. So,
Hmm.
I'm glad seeing that teams can recover from this virus and, get back on track. Hopefully the Reds can do the same because we saw what happened with the Cardinals. It was one case, then another, which ended up to be six missed series.
Hmm.
Almost their last played game that for the Cardinals before yesterday was the 29th of July. It is now the 16th of August. So we see what how that can take a toll on a team, and hopefully the Reds again can recover.
Yeah, definitely, dude. It's oh boy, I just don't. I just hope I don't see the same thing happen again with a team wearing red.
Yeah,
Test
I
positive, postpone. Test positive, postpone. The cycle just kept continuing and continuing and continuing for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I really hope that this will be the last outbreak. I honestly I feel like another team will have another virus virus spurt, but I hope not. But I wouldn't be surprised due to the fact of how the MLB has really handled the virus. So,
Yeah, what can you do about that? But um, wow. Streaks. I hope streaks are meant to be broken because I would like to see one broken in the next 2 hours.
Me too,
Wow.
man. I don't want to see the Cleveland Indians win 20 straight games against the Tigers because that just is not a sound I like to hear. 20 straight wins against the Detroit Tigers from the Cleveland Indians. Wow, that I don't know what to say. I don't know how a team has that much of your number. They have your entire number. They don't have a slight. They don't have a tiny piece of your number. They don't have a half of your number. They have your entire number. And it, of what I've seen in this series between the Tigers and the Indians, it doesn't look like the Tigers are going to break out of it. To be honest, they just haven't. Their bats haven't came around. Probably because they had that off day on Thursday. Because again, they were supposed to play the Indians. That didn't happen and they just they're in a slump, and I hope they can get out of it.
Yeah, and I agree. The Indians, they have all 11 of those digits plus the one at the beginning. I mean, dude, it, I didn't realize there was a streak like that until you told me about it, and I was like, whoa! And then I see Shane Bieber go out there and just dominate. I'm just like, oh, brother, what is? Oh, okay. Um, and they're gonna have this game on ESPN too. So, oh boy.
Dude, we may see. I mean, I hope we see the Tigers get back on track. They have Michael Fulmer, a former AL Rookie of the Year, who has not looked great this year. He has a 6.35 ERA. So I hope the Tigers can get out of it, and I hope they can get out of it on ESPN and show the world that they are not as bad as they seem. Because 9-9 isn't all too bad in a 60-game season.
Yeah, not for now, but when you lose
Yeah,
the last four games, I mean that takes a toll on you.
it
But
definitely does.
yeah, hopefully, you can avoid going under 500 for the first time since the first game of the season.
Dude, I hope so, man.
Yeah, dude. But like we said, man, surprises everywhere. Um, the Baltimore Orioles are second in the AL East
That's funny.
with a winning record. With a winning record, they are 12-8, 7 in their last 10. They have won. They jumped the Rays. I don't know what's going on. And the Red Sox are last in the division, by the way. Oh my gosh.
This is like 2014 all over again. I don't know. I mean, we saw last year how Chris Davis had like 32 at bats without even getting a hit. So I'm glad he has refound himself, and I'm honestly glad they're playing well because I have nothing against the Orioles,
Mm-mm. I
especially when they're in the division with the Yankees and the Red Sox. So
oh
you
yeah,
know,
any other team in the AL East, right?
yeah, yeah,
Oh my
definitely.
God. But what if I told you that the best team in Texas is not the Houston Astros, but the Texas Rangers?
I think Dodgers fans would be very pleased to hear that news.
Oh yeah, they're not only are they leading their own division, but they're seeing that the Astros are 500 and literally in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, that's I I would say that's not surprising, but it is because they have been the powerhouse of the MLB in the past 3 years. So
Mhm.
it is surprising to see. It really is.
Yeah, no, I mean these divisional races, we've been saying it for the past few weeks, is going to go down. But seeing just hearing some of the weirdest things. Orioles in playoff contention. The AL Central actually being a legitimate race. The Marlins leading the NL East a quarter way into the season. The Cubs having the highest winning percentage in the league, 13-5, 0.722 winning percentage.
Dude. That's almost funny because when you look at the NL Central, you can see that this virus has taken a toll because St. Louis has only played 7 games, and the Cubs have 6 more wins than they have played games. So, you know, that should tell you something.
Dude, that tells a lot. It can tell you that if this season's going to be canceled, the Cubs are going to throw verbal indirect hands at both the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Reds.
Yeah, and I'm kind of disappointed in this division. I thought it would honestly be the most, you know, exciting and tense division. You got Christian Yelich on Milwaukee. You saw how the Reds loaded up in the offseason, getting
Mhm.
Nicholas Castellanos. They have Trevor Bauer Castillo, their pitcher, who has been phenomenal. And we're seeing that the Cubs are running away with the division, which is if I was a fan of the NL Central, I would be very disappointed.
Yeah, because in the preseason, I was thinking to myself, outside of the Pittsburgh Pirates, this looks like a legit close division. This looks like it could be a legitimate race. But yeah, you're right. So far, it has been disappointing from a good game, from a good race
Yeah.
perspective. But I'm not complaining as a Cubs fan. I'm not complaining.
Hey, I know you aren't, and I wouldn't be either.
Yeah. But man, I did ask you a really cool trivia question last week, didn't I?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This one was very, very difficult, and I've heard from some of the viewers that they just had no idea due to the fact that there could be so many different combinations. So again, tell us the question.
So the question I asked last week is, what is the NHL's most frequent playoff matchup that does not pit two original six teams against each other?
See, I almost got lost listening to that because I have no clue at all.
Yeah, dude, I understand how it's such a tough question because the original six only makes up a fifth of the league. There's 25 other teams, soon to be 26.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I and you said that these two teams have met 22 times? Yeah, I don't know.
22. Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea?
Um, it's not original six. Let's go with like a weird one. Let's go Florida Panthers against uh, uh LA Kings. I don't know.
Whoa. That's
Yes,
that's
yes,
22
eh,
Stanley Cup Finals.
yes. It's 22 Stanley Cup Finals. I'm saying it right here. The Kings and the Florida Panthers have been to 22 Stanley Cup Finals. No, I'm kidding. Let's go Florida Panthers against dude. I don't know. Let's go New York Islanders. I have no idea.
Yeah, dude. You clearly don't because it's not even the right conference.
Okay, see, I'm lost, man.
The answer is the St. Louis Blues and the Dallas Stars.
I would have never guessed that, honestly. I, I think when fans think of like dominant hockey teams in the past, you don't really think of either, honestly.
Yeah, you would probably think more 21st century ish, maybe Penguins, Capitals, something like that.
Yeah, 22 times between the Blues and the Stars. What? That's a crazy stat, and I'm glad you brought that up because I that's fantastic.
Yeah, you think they'll make it 23?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that would be very ironic if they do. I think that would be awesome if they did, but I don't see that happening this year, unfortunately,
Yeah,
for the
it would.
stats' sake.
Yeah, it would take a lot though. I mean, the Flames are up 2-1 on the Stars, and the Blues are in danger of getting swept. So it would take a lot for a number 23 to happen in 2020. But yeah, that was my trivia question. The St. Louis Blues and the Dallas Stars have the most non-original six playoff matchups with 22.
Yeah, I that was a fantastic question.
Hmm.
But now on to my question. We have another NHL trivia question. This one is I guess fitting for this year. So, what are two NHL teams that originated in Canada and moved to the US?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. These two teams are currently playing each other in the playoffs this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Hmm. That's interesting.
it is. And one is one of these teams formerly were a team that is playing right now, which that may be very confusing what I just said, but this team it was alive in two generations. It was once the team it is now, and then they expanded to a different state, and now they're back where they used to be. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
So basically, it was an identity swap at times.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah.
Whoa.
This is a tough question, but you just need to go through each of the playoff matchups, and see which one you think are two expansions, and if they both came from Canada. So
Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna have fun with this history.
yeah, mine are very history related if you haven't found out. But yeah, I'll read it one more time. What are two NHL teams that originated in Canada and moved to the US? These two teams are playing each other right now, currently in the playoffs.
Wow, that should be fun to uncover next week. But man, as usual, we covered a lot today. It seems like the deeper we get into this podcast, the juicier the storylines get.
Dude, I'm looking forward to what comes next because as we've seen every time we get off recording, something crazy seems to happen. So let's hope something happens this week that we can cover next week.
Yeah, definitely. And we got some playoff hockey right after we get off. So I mean, hey, it's a double win-win.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, definitely should be fun, man. But same time next week.
Yes, sir. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, please be sure to give a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, and on YouTube. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Um, I follow us on all of our social medias: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Do all that, and yeah, this has been Top of the Standings. Thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.